Today we're talking about a trip that packs a serious punch. Los Angeles and Disneyland, all in one trip. Joy just got back, and there are some really fun takeaways if you've ever thought about doing Disney on the West Coast. Welcome to the Savvy Travel Moms podcast. If you are a mom who wants to travel more with your family without spending a fortune, you're in the right place. I'm Michelle, the bougie one.
Joy, the practical one. We are two moms with different travel styles, but the same savvy mindset. In our show, we will break down family-friendly travel tips, points and miles, and realistic strategies that fit into a busy mom life. From hotel robes and room service to free breakfast and budget wins, we will help you turn everyday life into unforgettable family memories.
Real moms, real travel, real strategies. Welcome back. Today we are talking all about Joy's trip to LA and Disneyland in California, which I feel like can sometimes be an underrated combo. We talk a lot about Disney World, but Disneyland is totally different. It's smaller, more walkable, and honestly kind of magical in its own way. Plus, adding LA into the mix makes this a really fun, flexible trip, especially if you're using points and miles. So Joy, I'm super duper excited. So let's go ahead and get an overview of your trip. Let's do a quick breakdown first. How long were you there and what did your itinerary look like?
Yeah. So this was our spring break trip. We were there 7 days, 6 nights, but we actually ended up going a little off. So we did a Wednesday to Tuesday and pulled them out of school for 2 days following spring break, just because the flights were a little bit better for us in less points. So that's why we
Fun.
altered a little bit. I'm not opposed to pulling my kids out of school if it makes it better for the trip,
I
which is
love
what
that.
we did on this one.
Yes,
Yes, so high level
I love
itinerary.
it.
We did 2 days at Disneyland, and then we ended up moving over to LA. So we did 3 days in Anaheim, 3 days in LA. And on those 3 days in
Perfect.
LA, we had some exploration, and then we did Universal. We packed in a lot of theme parks on this trip and a lot of like super busy, crazy days. And I had to make sure I offset that with some down days too.
I love that. So it sounds like it was about like half and half Disney LA then, right?
Yes, it was exactly half and half. 3 in Anaheim, 3 days in LA. We split it right down the middle.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit before we get into each day, a little bit of do you remember what you spent on points and miles for this trip?
What we spent on this trip is we actually ended up flying into one airport and flying out of another airport, so we broke it up a little bit.
Ooh.
We flew into Orange County to Santa Ana, so SNA was the airport code we flew into. And I found those flights on American for 7,000 points per person plus $5.60. So it ended up being a
Ooh.
really good deal for us to get there on American.
Yes.
And then our return flights, we flew out of LA, and I found a direct flight from LA back to Nashville. And that actually, my better deal for those was to book through Atmos. So we're using that partner airline again. And I found those for 12,500 points per person on Atmos, and it ended up being $18.10 each for our taxes and fees, because remember that partner comes with a little bit higher price. But that's how we did our flights. And it worked out really good because SNA Airport is about 15 to 20 minutes from Disneyland. So it was a really easy airport and a short Uber Lyft ride to get us straight to the hotel. Then we do get a rental car, but that's later before we go to LA. So I didn't have that the first few days. The cash price of those flights would have been over $1,800 had we paid cash for 4 flights, but we ended up getting all 4 flights for $94.80 for our taxes and fees.
Yay. Oh, I love that. Perfect.
So almost
what about,
$1,000.
that's amazing. So what about your hotels? Where did you stay each night for the trip?
Yeah. So our hotel, when we were in Anaheim, we stayed at the Holiday Inn and Suites, which the biggest thing about Disneyland that is so different from Disney World, you get to Disney World and you're like either on property or off property, right? And it's really harder to do points. It's possible, but it's just harder to do points on property at Disney World. Whereas
Very true.
Disneyland, we initially looked at doing an on-property hotel, but after researching, there wasn't really any major benefit because you don't have like early or late access if you stay on a hotel. The biggest thing is you're just a little bit closer to parks, but everything there is super walkable. And the Holiday Inn and Suites was a 15-minute walk from the hotel to the Disneyland park entrance. So it
That's
wasn't
awesome.
bad at all. And that's why we opted to stay there. They also have character themed rooms.
Oh,
It was just
fun.
kind of like it's not your cup of tea because it's definitely not a bougie hotel, but it really worked out great for my family because
Yes.
we don't spend much time in the hotel anyway.
Yep.
So,
So true. That's awesome. So what
um,
about, oh no, you tell me first. What did you spend? Did you use your points for that, or did you use one of your credits to stay at that Holiday Inn?
I actually used both.
Oh,
So
both.
this
Yay.
one, yes. I had my City Strata Elite had a $300 credit that was going to expire in December, so I needed to use it. And this
Yep.
was like our next upcoming trip that I could apply it to. So our first 2 nights at the Holiday Inn in Suites, I used that $300 credit. I did have to end up paying $96 out of pocket for those first 2 nights to cover the difference.
Yep.
And then our last night, I paid in points, and it was 37,000 points for the last night. But I caught that on a 100% transfer bonus from Chase, so it was actually
Yay.
only half that for those points.
That's awesome. Well, that's really good for IHG because as we know, IHG, Hilton, Marriott, they all kind of have crazy points for their nights sometimes. So the
Yeah,
fact that you got it on the 100% transfer bonus, like that saved a ton. So that's really good that you got that.
it did. It did. And there is a Hyatt Place and a Hyatt House that are also walkable to Disney, but they didn't have any points availability on the nights that we needed. Because they were my first choice to look at. There's a Hilton there, there's Marriott's, like there's every hotel chain
Yep.
you can look at. Plus, there's hotels through the travel portal that aren't associated with the chain. So there are plenty of walkable options to Disneyland if you want to do this. Now, we actually really liked the Holiday Inn because A, it was walkable. B, like kids eat free for breakfast. So when we went down to breakfast, the kids were free. And it had an outdoor heated pool plus a little splash pad area
Oh,
that was nice
fun.
because I call it little, but it wasn't really that little. It was pretty good sized splash pad area. So the kids had multiple options for places to go play while we did spend some downtime at the hotel.
Oh, fun. I love that. Is this where you saw the ducks?
Yes,
Yes.
the ducks were in the pool, and the hotel didn't know they were there. I'm like, do you guys know you have some ducks out here? And I guess they had just landed like that day and made themselves at home, and
Really?
they had
Oh my
some,
goodness.
yes, and they were
It's
not
if you
afraid of us.
yeah, they seemed so happy. They literally looked like they lived there. I would have thought that like they were like the Holiday Inn ducks. Like that's just their home. Oh,
I mean, at first I was like, that's kind of funny. There's just ducks here. And then the more you think about it, oh, that's really gross that they're swimming in the pool.
they're in the pool. I know.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's when I decided to say something to the front desk staff, and they ran out there immediately and scared them away, and they weren't there the next day when we went back to the pool. But and then our last night, since I used my IHG credit card and I'm Platinum Elite because I have that card, they upgraded us, so we opted to move rooms our last night there, and we got to
Oh,
move into a one
fun.
bedroom character suite.
Oh,
And it was really
yeah.
fun. It was a Minnie Mouse themed suite. So we had Minnie and Daisy, and even the light switches were Minnie Mouse. And I
Yeah.
really liked this hotel because it had the sink and the mirror outside of the bathroom
Oh, I
in
love that. So
all
then
of
you
their
can like have
rooms.
multiple people getting ready at the same time. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes, and you're not fighting over the bathroom or brushing your
Yep.
teeth while someone's showering or any of
I
that.
know.
So I really loved
Yep.
that every room, even our first room we were in, which is a standard room, had the sink outside of the bathroom. And it was a big sink with like a huge counter space too. So it made a really big difference to have room for all four of us to kind of put our stuff out and not
Yes.
stress about nowhere to put it.
Yay. I love that. Do you know by chance, because a lot of our listeners probably really love Hyatt, if those Hyatts book 13 months in advance, or do you think how far out did you book this? Do you remember?
Um, I started booking this trip. I got my credit card to earn the points in May of 2025 because
Okay.
full circle moment, my son had to get an expander and braces. So I got an AA business card to earn the points for the flights.
Yep.
And I used that to pay for his braces. And he got his braces off the day before we left. So I
I
started the
love
process
that.
in May or June. I probably didn't book the
Yep.
hotels until probably August.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far out.
August.
It was pretty
Okay.
busy because it was spring break time.
Spring break. Yep. Okay. So I'm
Hmm.
just thinking for our listeners, if they want to stay at the Hyatt, they might want to make sure that they book those pretty far in advance if they know their dates to be able to
Yes.
to stay there.
I needed to earn my airline miles first.
Yep.
I usually book my flights first, then my hotels last is how I plan my trips. So yeah, it must have been probably August or September by the time I got the card, met the minimum,
Yep.
got the points, then found the flights. So,
Did Southwest not fly to there, or were the points just like outrageous?
the points were a little bit more. I mean, I found our flights for 7,000 points a
I know.
person.
Yeah,
And
you
but
can't
with
beat that.
Southwest, yeah, what I've noticed with Southwest is their prices have gone up so much that even with a companion pass, sometimes it is cheaper just to go the AA
It
route.
is 100%. No, I totally agree with you. I was just curious because I know you have the companion pass. And if you're listening to this, you've probably already listened, maybe, to Joy's other episode about her trip to Dallas, but she also didn't use her Southwest companion pass for that trip either. So that's why I was kind of curious if she used it for this one. But I totally agree. There are many instances. I still love the Southwest Companion Pass, but there are many instances where American Airlines is a way better deal, even with the Companion Pass, because for whatever reason, Southwest flights are just crazy. You want 30,000 miles a person for this 2-hour flight? Like, I'm not paying that. So, even with the
Yeah.
Companion Pass,
And see, the thing is, like, I still have to get 3 tickets because we don't have 2 companion passes. So
yes.
at that point,
Yep,
that's why I've focused so much on AA miles. Plus, AA miles are easier to earn.
they are.
So I've been able to, this year is like an AA year for us, pretty much. Is what
Yep,
I feel like most of our flights we're doing on American or Atmos miles.
yep. I know. Well, before we get into the other part of the hotels, let's just kind of stick with Disney and then we'll move on to LA after that.
Yeah.
So I think the first question that a lot of people are going to have, and I'm curious about too, is how does Disneyland compare to Disney World? Because I know you've been to Disney World a ton of times. So was this your first time at Disneyland?
So I've been to Disneyland, but not since I was 21.
Okay.
And I was in college, and it was a very, very long time ago. So, I mean, technically, yes, this is my second time at Disneyland, but I don't remember much from my first trip because that was over 20 years ago. Disney World. So, my husband is from Orlando, and my in-laws live in Disney World or live in Orlando, and we go to Orlando in Florida a lot because we have a lot of family
Yep.
there. And the biggest thing for us is we've never done like a real Disney World vacation. And when we go, we usually pick one park, and we don't go every time, but we'll pick one park and do that park for that day. Is kind of how we've
Yep.
done Disney World. Or else we like to go and we'll use the internal transportation and go walk all the hotels and see Christmas decorations. That's one of our favorite traditions
Yep.
too.
Oh, I
So we
love
do Disney
that.
World very differently than other people just because we're a little more local because we have family there.
Yep.
And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do Disneyland, is because we've never really got to have like that full Disney experience where you just go to the parks, you hit them hard, and then you get to go up the next day and do it all over
Yep.
again. And that's why we wanted to go to the other side, because we feel like Disneyland is a little bit less intimidating too,
Yep.
right? Disney World is this whole thing. I think it scares
It
people
is.
because have to like you feel like you have to have a Disney travel agent or a Disney planner to help
Mm-hmm.
you plan it, to get your passes, to get your character breakfast, to get your hotel, to help you with the transportation
Yeah.
and do all those things. And it's very overwhelming. In Disneyland, you don't have to do that. You don't even have to stay on property. Like, it's
I
smaller,
love
it's
that.
walkable, you grab a nearby hotel. You do have to like get your tickets and reserve them ahead of time for your date at the park. And then from there, you just go and you just make a day of it. Like, if you want to do character
Yeah.
breakfast, you want to do all those things, you can. We didn't do a character breakfast. I didn't want to do the extra expense on it, but we did opt to do some other special experiences for our kids. So it's less intimidating, I think, especially if it's going to be your first time doing Disney. It's a good starter point.
I actually love that tip because I agree. I'm not going to derail your podcast episode because we have so much to cover, but this morning I had to get up well, I was already up because I had to do my Southwest flight stuff too. But at 7, I had to do the lightning lane for our trip this weekend because you can get in 3 days before to do the lightning lane if you're not staying on property. And it is so stressful. And trying to navigate which rides to pick and what times to put them. And it is really actually very, like, makes you very anxious and it kind of takes away some of the fun of it. So I actually love that tip because I think families that are intimidated by Disney, you're so right. Maybe Disneyland would be a great place to start to get your feet wet before you take on the beast of Disney World,
Disney
you
World.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at Disneyland, and you said you did Disney and Universal, right?
In this trip, yes,
Yes,
we did
yes.
both.
Okay.
We made it a theme park trip.
I love that. So when we talk about these, you can answer this for Disney or Universal or both, whatever you want to do. But do you have a favorite ride or moment at Disneyland or Universal?
Oh goodness. So the thing we did with Disney this year that made it a little different for us, and we normally aren't splurgers, right? Like, you guys know
Yep,
me, I'm the practical one, I'm the frugal one. I don't want to spend a ton of money, which I think both of us
yep,
don't ever want to spend a ton of money anyway. My daughter's birthday was in February, and she did a little bit. The venue she chose for her birthday was a little cheaper, so we decided to splurge for her, and we did the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique experience.
Oh, I love
Which is kind of one of those things that, like, I always wanted to do as a little girl, and you
Yep,
want to do for your little girl one day. And that was
yep,
probably the most special moment for me, is we surprised her with it. And we walked up to we did it first thing in the morning, and they have different packages. So we didn't choose the full dress package because I'm like, I don't want you running around the park in a $70 princess dress that we have to add on and then deal with that every time we have to go to the bathroom. Like,
yeah.
we're not doing that. So they have a package where you can get like a t-shirt and a tutu and a sash, and that's the one we did. It's a little bit more economical. And we did that first thing in the morning. The boys went and did the Rise of the Resistance ride because you can't lightning lane that pass without paying extra. So
Yep,
they went and did
yep.
that first thing while I took her to do her Bibbidi Boppidi Boutique experience. But she
No.
was so surprised and so excited and just loved every moment of it. And they made it so special. It was like they used Ariel's sea gel on her hair and Elsa's freezing
So
spray,
fun.
and Tinkerbell gave her pixie dust. And it was this whole to do, the way that they just made it feel so special and interacted with her the whole time, like asking her questions if she was the only princess at home or if there were any other princes or princesses in the house with her. And they talked to me like I was the queen. Every time they addressed me, it was
Oh,
like the mother queen. And so it was just so fun. And she didn't get to see herself
no.
until the very end of it. And when they do it, so like they first presented her to me and spun her around and were like, for the very first time, presenting Princess Janelle for the day. And I'm pretty sure I
Oh,
teared up at that moment because I'm like, this is just so special. This is one of my dreams for a daughter, you know?
yes.
And then they turn her around and they have these curtains and they tell her, they say, okay, now you're going to wave your fingers in front of the curtains and say whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the curtains just magically opened. And then, like,
Oh,
the mirror lit up, and then, like, birds flew across the mirror, and then there were flowers on the mirror, and it was sparkling, and then, like, it played Cinderella music.
aw.
And then we went to go to the fairy godmother afterwards and go get one-on-one private photos with the fairy godmother, and did this little photo session afterwards. And it was just, like, the sweetest thing. And throughout the entire day, like she was really worried, pretty like trying to eat something right away because she didn't want to mess up her lipstick, and they painted her nails and they did her makeup. And then every time we did go
Aw.
to the bathroom, she had to stop and look at herself in the mirror just to check her hair, and she just loved, soaked it all up. And it was one of my highlights of our total trip, just being able to do that for my daughter and knowing that everything else that we did, you know, our flights, our hotels, and our Disneyland tickets were all covered on points, that we were
Yep.
able to splurge on this experience for her.
Oh, it sounds so sweet. Did you book that in advance or can you walk up and do that?
So you have to book it in advance. So the way I did my Disney tickets is, first off, I got them from Undercover Tourist, which is a third
Okay.
party website that you is an authorized retailer at Disney. And if you do that, it will code as travel, and then you want to put it and pay with it for a Capital One Venture or Venture X, and then you use the cover travel purchase option. So
Yep.
I didn't have enough points to cover all of our tickets because the total for 2-day Lightning Lane passes for 4 people was about $1,500. And at the
Hmm.
time, I only had 106,000 points. So I did end up having to pay $436 out of pocket for our Disney tickets, which, if you're looking at 4 people for 2 days for Lightning Lane passes, like that's over a
That's,
$1,000
yeah,
off.
so
Um,
cheap.
yeah, I
Yeah.
drained
Because
all
it's
my
so
Capital One points.
expensive. I know. So that, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but that's like so little out of pocket for Disney tickets. So that's amazing.
Yes. And then the cool thing about that is when you buy Disneyland tickets from Undercover Tourists. Now, I don't know if this was just a special when we purchased them or if it's all the time. You get money back to use towards this website called Dining Dollars. And
Yep.
the way Dining Dollars works, and I got $20 back per ticket. The way that it works is you take your Dining Dollars and then you go to this website, and then you can purchase gift cards to like different restaurants on the website,
Hmm.
and you get like that money that they gave you applies towards the amount. So they also sell Disney gift cards on this website. So I ended up purchasing $450 worth of Disney gift cards and only paid
Oh,
$360 out of pocket. Um,
nice.
because I used the dining dollars for this. And then that $450 is what we used for everything while we were at Disney. So it paid for her Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique experience. It paid for all of our food, all of our souvenirs, because you can use those Disney gift cards all over Disney. And so for our 2 days there, like all of those expenses were already covered well before we even got to the park because I had purchased these so long ago when I got our tickets. So it made
That's
a huge
awesome.
difference in our budget.
That's awesome. So did for the booking in advance for Bibbidi Boppity Boo, is that
Mhm.
something that you need to book really far in advance, or could you like spur of the moment, like the month before, book it and you'd still be able to get in?
You did ask me that, and I didn't answer that question.
No, that's fine. You did not you got we're getting around to it. You gave us all the other really important information. So this is just the last final piece.
So you can't book it until 30 days in advance. So when I
Oh,
first got
okay.
my Disneyland tickets from Undercover Tourist, I then had to go and make a park reservation. So I downloaded the Disney app, I uploaded the tickets into
Yep.
my Disney app, and then I made a park reservation. And because we didn't do Park Hopper, I reserved Disneyland on the Thursday and California Adventure on the Friday. So I had to pick my specific days. And then once I had that secured, I set my alarm on my phone, a calendar reminder, so
Yep.
30 days prior to our trip, I could go in and make her Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique experience reservation. And you
Yeah.
have to have a Disneyland reservation in order to book it because it's inside
Yep.
the castle in Disneyland.
Oh,
So you have to
fun.
be in the park already to be able to do it.
Okay. Are there any perks I think you already answered this earlier, but I just wanted to make sure. Are there any perks to staying on property? Like, at Walt Disney World, like the lightning lanes, right? If you're staying on property, you can book it 7 days, but if you're off property like me, it's only 3 days. So is it the same at Disneyland for things like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, where if you were actually on Disneyland property, you could book that sooner, or is there no real perk for that?
I don't think so. Now, don't quote me on
Okay.
this. I'm not a Disneyland expert. I know we're going to have one coming up here in the next couple of weeks, so we can ask her this question too. But from what I researched, there wasn't really any huge benefit to pay the difference to stay on property.
Okay.
Um, because you don't have early rope drop. The lightning lane you can only do day of. So you didn't even get access to
Oh,
lightning lane until we walked in the park that morning and activated our tickets. Then I could start selecting lightning lane. I
that
did
is
have to
different.
do some
Okay.
research on like what rides to do and which ones cost more and which ones are included. So
Yep.
that was probably my biggest piece. That's why the boys roped dropped Rise of the Resistance at the
Yep.
Galaxy's Edge while we did the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and then they did, and then like we had pretty good luck with Lightning Lane at Disneyland. California Adventure was a whole nother story. Um,
Oh,
but we worked our way through the park, and even in terms of lines, like I've been to Disney World where we've waited in line an hour to 2 hours. I've seen them up
yep.
to 4 hours for rides at Disney World, and we've never had Lightning Lane at Disney World because we would always get in like on like a military pass for my brother-in-law, or my husband used to like have a lot of friends and family that worked for Disney, so we would get in for free and never had that. So this was
Yep.
our first time utilizing an option for the Lightning Lane. And it made it really easy. We just, even the ones that we didn't lightning lane, the waits, I think the longest wait we saw that day was 45 minutes, which to me at a theme park like
Mm.
that is nothing.
No, that isn't bad at all. So, do you have any tips for lightning lanes or strategies? Or like, do you think it was worth the money to pay for lightning lanes? Or do you think because the lines are shorter, you could easily do a whole day and like not pay the extra for it?
I think it depends on when you go. Because we were
Okay.
there over spring break, it was a little bit busier, and they have a attendance calendar. I know Undercover Tourist has one that you can
Yep.
see when it's going to be busier and when it's not. If it's not going to be a busy time, I probably wouldn't spend my money, especially at Disneyland. Now, California Adventure is a little different. Um, if you're just strategic about hitting like that Rise of the Resistance is the big one, right? If you're
Yep.
strategic about hitting that right away. And then we ended up we went back and did Smuggler's Run as a whole family at the very end of the day. So, like, when everybody went to the parade, we went and
Hmm.
walked because we wanted to walk through the Galaxy's Edge at night because it's such a different
Yes.
experience seeing it from
Yep.
daytime and nighttime. And so
Yep.
we walked back there and we saw the line was down under 30 minutes. So we just were like, let's do it. We're going to hop in line and go for it
Oh,
because Janelle and I didn't get to ride
fun.
it with them earlier in the day, which that
Yeah.
ended up being one of our favorite rides at Disneyland because they got to be pilots and it was just a
Yes.
lot of fun.
Yep.
Um, so we really enjoyed that ride. And outside of that, like, I don't, there weren't any major lines that we did wait in on what we didn't
Ooh, that's
lightning
good.
lane. But it was just a really pretty easy day. I mean, we closed down the park. We're the type of
Yep.
people that we will be there from open to close because if we're paying for a theme park, we're gonna get our
Yep.
money's worth.
Yep. I love that. Did you ask? I've heard, because we're going to be at Hollywood Studios this weekend for the
Hmm.
first time. And that was one of the little hacks I heard about was for Smuggler's Run to let the people, when you get close enough in line, let the workers know that this is your first time to Disney and your kids would really love to be the pilots and they'll let them specifically be the pilots. Did you ask or did you just get lucky and you happened to be in line at the right time and like they were automatically chosen as pilots?
You know, it's funny you bring that up because so last year when we did Disney World, my husband and son, we kind of divided and conquered parks that day. They did Hollywood Studios and they were engineers at Smuggler's Run. And then
Yep.
this time, because they rode it in the morning, they were engineers as well. So when we went back through it at night, we finally just stopped and asked, we're like, hey, we've done this ride a couple times. They've only been engineers. How do we get to be pilots or the gunners?
Yep.
And the key is the number of people in your party. So there's 6 people that will fit in a pod, right? There's 6 people on the ship.
Yes, I've seen
And
that.
so
Yep.
because there was only 2 of them, they were like the fillers for the party of 4, which automatically made them the engineers. When we went
Oh,
back as a family of 4 at the end of the day, we actually were the only 4 in our pod and we just did it without the engineers in the back. So we chose to let our kids
okay.
be pilots and we were the gunners. But I think that's the key, right? It all depends on the number of people in your party. It's kind of like the single rider rule. You know, if
Yep.
you have 2 people, you're going to pretty much be the engineers unless you try to ask them and pair up with other people. But if the party of 4, you're going to be the 2 that fills in the back. You're going to pretty much always be the engineers.
The engineers. Okay, well, that's
Hmm.
good to know. Yeah, because I plan when we go this weekend to say, hey, this is our first time at Disney World. Our kids would love to be the pilots because I've heard that being the pilot is the best spot to
Yeah.
have to do that. I'm hoping, because they say if you ask, and they find out that your kids have never been, like they'll usually try to make it work. So I'm hoping that we'll get to do that because that would be really fun if they got to be the pilots. I
And as
love
a
that.
party of 4, your opportunity to be that role is so much easier than a party of 2. And
Well,
that's
that
what
makes
they were
sense.
before. The 2 times they wrote it where they were a party of 2, so
Yep.
they were just filling in the back of a plane.
Yeah.
Um, and get them when you first get there. There's first time Disney pins they can get that they can wear, and they write their
Oh,
name on it. So we
okay.
did that for the kids too. So they have little pins that say it's my first time at Disneyland. Even though we've all
Oh,
been to Disney World, they
fun.
wanted the first time visitor pins because we never got them
Yeah.
at Disney World before. So
Yeah. Oh, that's
make
special.
sure
I'm
you
gonna
get
make sure
those.
to look for that. Yeah. And two, then,
To
like
ask
everybody, you have to ask, is it like right
at
when
the
you
gift
go
shops.
in? Oh, at the gift
Every gift
shop.
shop throughout the park has it. So you just go in any gift shop because we didn't even notice it till like way through the day that everybody had the pins on. And finally, we're like, you guys have never been here before. So we stopped and asked at one of the gift shops, and they're like, oh yeah, they're at every
Oh.
gift shop. So we got ours kind of later in the day, but they have them now as souvenirs.
Is it free or do you pay for it?
They're free. They're
Oh,
free
it's
little pins that they give you.
free.
Yeah.
I love that. And then I feel like too, all of the workers, they know then too, like they can spot, hey, you've never been. And I feel like they try to make it extra special for the first timers. So that's a really good idea. I'm going to make sure after we do Rise of the Resistance, as we walk very fast to get there because we can't get in early, that
Yes.
we
You're
will
going to rope
then
drop.
go. Yes, we
Rope
are.
drop Rise of the Resistance.
Yep. Yeah. I plan to get there like 45 minutes early and then be as close to the front as we can to like get over there and then wait for that rope to go down and whoop, we're going to go over there and hopefully not wait in line for 2 or 3 hours. So that's my goal. Oh, I love
Yes.
that.
I know. I think when the boys went there, it was 4 hours. So they didn't get a ride at Rise
Oh,
of the Resistance when we did Hollywood Studios before. So they did it this time. Yes. So that was pretty much our day at Disney. Like we just worked our way through the park. Now we're not a big like get all the Mickey shaped treats and stuff. So we didn't really splurge. We got a couple churros, but that was pretty much probably our biggest like Disney splurge special treat wise, just because everything does add up. But we did have that gift card that just made it so easy to just
yep.
use that gift card. Now, I would say if you're doing Disneyland, you'd probably be fine with like a $250 or $300 gift card. We did the extra because of the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique experience, which was about like 180, 190-ish.
Yeah.
Um, so that's where our difference was. And we even still had a little bit of money left over that we had to go use at Downtown Disney. So,
Oh,
on our
fun.
last day there. Yeah. Um, So that was Disney, and then we closed down the park. We just went back to the hotel. We were so exhausted. The next day we did California Adventure. We did not get there right at open. We got there probably like an hour after open just because we were so tired we couldn't get moving that morning.
Yep.
And by the time we got there and I tried the lightning lane, most of the big rides, the lightning lanes were already gone. So the
Mhm.
Guardians of the Galaxy, which is similar to the Tower of Terror in Hollywood Studios, we couldn't lightning lane that one. Um there was another big ride that was out on Lightning Lane that we just had to wait for. I can't remember which one it was, but so it was harder to get lightning lanes on some of those big rides at California Adventure,
Mhm.
and the lines were a little bit longer that day too. So there is a Cars ride. It's the Radiator Springs Racer, which is like their big ride that you have to pay extra for. And so we started to make that one of our, go-to rides because we wanted to go to Cars Land, and we waited in line for over an hour for that ride, and then it broke down.
No.
Yes. Yes. So then we made the decision to leave and go do other rides. And so we were able to lightning lane our way through most of the rides there at California Adventure that day, minus a couple big ones. And as we were doing that, they did tell us a trick. They told us, one of the guys in line said, if you lightning lane a ride that you don't really care about,
Yep.
and you can go in and modify it once you have a lightning lane done, and then sometimes as you go in to modify, like the rides you want to get will pop up throughout the day.
Yep.
So I did keep checking, and I was able to get us on the Incredicoaster. Janelle didn't want to ride the Incredicoaster, so I sat back with that. So the boys actually got to go twice because they used their lightning lane, then they used her and I's lightning lane for
Oh,
it, so they were
fun.
able to ride it twice. Which made it kind of fun. Like if you have a younger kid that doesn't really want to do that, you can still lightning lane the whole family and then go back and the bigger kids can ride that again and just use their lightning lanes. So they did the Incredicoaster twice, once during the day, and then they got to do it again at night in the dark. And then that day, the other thing we did that was really cool is I got to meet up with Jamie's Travel Tips, another fellow Points and
Yes.
Miles person, because she's a Californian. She happened to be at Disneyland that day. And then, like, while the boys were in line, they did go and ride the Guardians of Galaxy, and it was a 2-hour wait. So while they were in line for 2 hours, Janelle and I had some extra time to kill. So we found, because it was so close to Easter, they had this fun little egg hunt that you could do.
Oh,
And
fun.
yeah, so we went and we bought, like, it's a card that they give you, and they give you a hint on where the egg is, and it's a huge Easter egg that's hidden somewhere in that section of the park, and it has a character on it. And then there's stickers, and you have to
Mm.
put that matching sticker on the egg hunt once you find it, and if you fill out your card, you get a prize at the end of the day. So she and I went and did the egg hunt while the boys were waiting in line to ride Guardians of the Galaxy. So that was kind of fun to go through the park and find all the eggs. We really enjoyed that. And it
Yeah.
was a great way to do that because some of the lines were just so long at California
Yep.
Adventure. And then a lot of the rides, I don't know if it was just the day we were there, but like a lot of the rides kept breaking down. So they'd be up and they'd be
Uh,
down. They'd be up and they'd be down. Like almost every roller coaster went down at some point that day. The big Ferris wheel went down, the Cars ride went down. It was just a lot of up and downs that day. So
so did you ever get to ride the Cars ride or you never got to do it that day?
So we waited until the very end of the night, and when everybody lined up to go to the fountain show, we walked back to Cars Land, and it was like probably 10 till 9, and they close at 9,
Yep.
and that's what time the fountain show is. And the line
Yep.
said it was 30 minutes or 35 minutes. So we just hopped in line. We were some of the last people. Like they closed the line down probably about 15, 20 people after us and didn't let anybody
Yep.
else come on the ride. And it took about maybe 20 minutes to get through the line, and we did get a ride it. So it was our last ride
Yes.
of the night, and
The last
it was well
ride.
worth it.
I love that like hack. I learned that actually from the lady when I had talked to the lady on the phone when I got her Disney tickets. She had told me like you can literally get on like right before close because we would think that
Mhm.
like like let's say like when we're there it's open till 9:30. Like it closes at 9:30, but that's the last time you can get on the ride. So I thought that was really interesting because you can literally go at like 9:30 and get in the line. And as long as you make it before they close it, no matter how long it takes to get through the line, you get to ride. So that's kind of
Yeah.
nice. Like if you have a big ride that you didn't get to do, hopefully at the very end of the night, it's going to be shorter and that's the perfect time to hit it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you got to do that.
We
Yay.
did, and it was so worth it. It was so much fun to do that ride. Like they just did it so well. And Cars Land is so immersive. There's a couple
It's
other rides
so
in Cars
cool.
Land too. The lines weren't very long and we did those, but it was just so cool to see it from the day at night and the way they did like the cozy
Yeah.
cone and you feel like you're really walking
Aw.
down the main street of Cars Land. It was really cool. But that was our California Adventure Day. And it was a lot of fun. I will say the Lightning Lane is very much needed at California Adventure. I've heard amazing things about the fountain show. We just decided not to really partake in any of the big shows or the parades or anything because that was such a great opportunity to go hop in line at some of those bigger rides, and that's what we
Yeah,
did.
I love that. So do you want to tell us about Universal before we move on to LA?
Well, Universal's in LA.
Oh, is Univ okay, Joy, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea where anything is in California. Like
That's okay.
I thought Disney and California Adventure were the same thing. So is California Adventure not Disney? Or it's a different
So
park?
it's a different park. There's two different parks.
Kind of like we have like Epcot, Magic Kingdom, like
Yes.
that. Okay, so at Disney in California, there's just two parks.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. So I just learned something. I'm like, I've just been nodding along like I know what you're talking about, but I really don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so so at
It's okay. No, there's
Universal,
two parks there. So they're both part of like the Disneyland
Disney.
experience. Yes.
Okay, okay. In Universal, does Universal have multiple parks or is Universal just one park?
So that's just one, but that's like a couple days from now. So
Okay.
after we did our 2 days at Disney, then our last day was our checkout day. But because I was Platinum Elite, we had late checkout. And we still had a little bit of money left on our gift card, so we walked back over to downtown Disney and got some
Yeah.
breakfast at downtown Disney and then did a little bit of souvenir shopping. So we allow our kids to get one souvenir per trip. We usually give them a $30 limit. So my daughter picked out like a little princess water bottle that was really cute. But that's really what we did is we
Aw.
just kind of did some last minute downtown Disney shopping because they didn't really we browsed at the parks, but they didn't find anything that they loved.
Yep.
And we just wanted to give them one more chance because once you leave Disney, like you're gone. You can look online, you can go to a
Yes.
Disney store somewhere, but you want to grab
Mm-hmm.
that if there's something you really want there. Now, the
Yep.
biggest difference downtown Disney at Disneyland is about a quarter of the size. It really shocked me with how small it was because I had planned on, especially our arrival day, like we walked over to downtown Disney and I had planned on spending the rest of the day there walking around. I thought there'd be more
Yeah.
interactive stuff like there is at Disney Springs in Orlando, but it was so much smaller. We spent 2 hours there with eating in that 2 hours at a sit down restaurant,
Oh,
and we were
wow.
done with downtown Disney. So
Yeah.
it's much smaller than Disney World.
Oh,
So just
wow.
prepare
I didn't
yourself.
realize that.
Yeah, if you plan a downtown Disney day, just know you don't need all day. So make sure you have like a backup plan for the pool or something
Yes.
because it's pretty small. Um, and then we went back and then we took, at that point, we got a lift and went back to the airport because that's where we picked up our rental car from and then grabbed our rental
Oh.
car and then spent the rest of the afternoon. We took the scenic route up to LA. So Anaheim's a little south of LA. And
Yep.
you can either take the highways there or you can drive over to the coast and go up. And so we drove over to the coast and drove up the coast to get to LA, which ended up being like a 3 hour drive because
Oh.
we just wanted to kind of, get the scenic tour of it, which had we not, we would have
Yeah.
been to LA in probably an hour and a half. So
Yep. Oh, fun. So were you by the water, like you drove like by the ocean?
we did. There were some areas we couldn't really drive right by the water, but like we drove over. Our initial goal was to go down to Laguna Beach, which was about 30 minutes south, and then drive all the way up. It's called the Pacific Coast Highway.
Mhm.
But there ended up being a little bit more traffic. Our Uber driver kind of scared us, not scared us, but made it sound like we were kind of idiots for getting a rental car. They couldn't believe we were driving
Mm.
there and that we were going to drive up the coast because traffic and parking was going to be miserable. And it honestly was not as bad. So at that point, we opted not to go all the way down to Laguna, which I'm a little sad because I've heard Laguna Beach is one of like the more gorgeous Southern California beaches.
Yeah.
So we just started in Newport Beach and then worked our way up, and we drove through like Huntington. So I saw the Hyatt Regency Huntington as
Oh,
we drove up and
fun.
saw where that was, because I know that's a huge hotel people love, is that Hyatt Regency right there at Huntington Beach. And then drove all the way up to Long Beach, which is right near where like the huge shipping dock is. And I've
Mm.
seen shipping docks and cargo container yards before, but this one is unlike anything else. Like, I took pictures and videos of it, but it does not do it justice. It's really interesting to drive through, and I think it's something, if you have a rental car, you should do when you're in LA, because it is
Yeah.
massive. I mean, I can't even express to you how big the shipping yard is there.
Mm.
It just kept
Really?
going and on and on and on. And
Wow.
these shipping containers were stacked like probably 7 or 8 high. And they were so, I don't even know how many rows. Like, there were more than you could count.
Wow.
It
That's,
was
I don't think I've ever seen
huge.
anything like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
huge.
fun.
And then we just made our way up to the coast and then ended up going into LA. We unfortunately did not stop at any beaches, which is what I really wanted to do. But
Hmm.
my kids were just really tired, and my husband kept saying, "Well, that wasn't very far from Newport to Huntington, so let's go a little bit farther to the next beach." And then within like 10 minutes, we're at the next beach. And he's like, "Oh, well, let's get farther down the road." And it just
Yep.
kept being that close together. And I'm like, you know what? Never mind. Nobody wants to go to the beach. The ocean's cold. Nobody's going to get in it. It's fine. We'll just cut what I want to do. So we ended up going into the hotel that night. And because we were really tired from the theme park days, we just ordered a pizza and stayed in, and the pool was heated, so they swam that night. We stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn in LA and Hollywood, and we were 2 blocks
Oh,
from where the Oscars
fun.
were on Hollywood
Oh,
Boulevard. And I
so
didn't
fun.
know that the Oscars were happening while we were there. So that was kind of fun. There were a
That's
lot of closed
amazing.
roads around. Um, so
Did you
yes, we
see
saw
any
like all the.
famous people?
We did not, because we were actually at Universal the day of the Oscars, but like there was
Okay.
media and crews, and there were a lot of people in our hotel that were working the Oscars,
Oh,
because
fun.
it was so conveniently located. And I still don't know. I'm like, how did we get this hotel on points when the Oscars were
Yes.
happening? So it was
Yeah.
a Hilton Garden Inn, and it was 150,000 points for 3 nights. And I got it. I used my Amex points to transfer to Hilton at a 1-to-2 ratio, but I also caught it at a transfer bonus. So it
Oh,
helped
yay.
make my points less. And then I ended up, they also had a promotion where they were running where you could buy points for 100% back. So I spent, no, sorry, I spent $150 and bought 30,000 points. So
Oh.
yes, because I bought 15,000 points and then they gave me 15,000. So that was my 30,000 points. And then the rest I transferred over on a bonus. So that hotel cost us $150 for 3 nights.
Awesome.
And it would have cost us over $1,600 had we paid
Yeah.
cash for
I
that
can
room.
I can imagine to be like right there. Literally like downtown by the Oscars. That's insane that you got that and it wasn't 100,000 points a night or something because that's
Yeah.
something that Hilton would do, you know? So,
Yeah. And it was a Hilton Garden Inn. It was nice. It was much cleaner, a little bit more updated. I will say the rooms at this hotel were smaller, and they did
mhm.
not have the sink outside the bathroom. So that was
Mm,
definitely a downfall. And in the
yep.
rooms being smaller, they had this like credenza cabinet thing that took up the entire open wall in the bedroom. So it made it a little bit harder with our luggage, and just space in the room, because it literally took up the entire wall. So it was not a super ideal setup for a family of 4. Beds were comfortable. It was queen beds. Location was perfect though. And I don't know really what to expect in downtown like Hollywood anyway. So maybe
Hmm.
it's just because it's an older hotel, the rooms are a little smaller. But I mean, it worked out really great because we could walk to Hollywood Boulevard, the Walk of Fame, like everything was
Yep.
super walkable. So that was our first day. We kept it pretty low key in LA just because we were tired. And then the next morning we got up and that was our Universal day. We did have our rental car and we had to drive to Universal, which was about a 15-minute drive from the hotel. And so we drove up there that morning. We got there about 20 minutes before opening because we wanted to be in the park. It was a very similar situation. We bought the express pass so you could walk on every ride, but they were like the one ride that you couldn't do is the Super Mario World ride, the
Mm.
Bowser's Kart Mario Kart ride. So when we got there, there was already a decent crowd there, and we just walked straight back to
Wow.
Super Mario World. Yeah, and we did that Bowser's ride, and the line was 40 minutes at that point, and we were there before opening.
Yep.
So,
Crazy. Crazy.
yes. Same thing with Universal. I bought our tickets on Undercover Tourist, and I used this as a points earning opportunity. I would have loved to cash these out and not had to pay for them and use my cover purchase, but I'd already drained all my points on Disneyland. So
Yep.
these were $1,000 and $1,073 for my family of four. We did buy the express passes and it was just a 1-day park pass, and I found a special in Capital One offers where if you spent $1,000 you got an extra 15,000 points back on top of it. So I just use it as an opportunity to earn my 17,000 Capital One miles for this purchase.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
such a good, like, extra little stack, to get something extra out of a really
Yeah.
expensive purchase.
Hey, if I can stack it or if I can find a
Yep.
transfer bonus or if I can find any
Yep.
way to either save or earn more points, I'm going to do it. So they unfortunately didn't have a Dining Dollars edition for this purchase,
Oh, bummer.
which sucked a little bit, but that's okay. So it all worked out. It was just 1 day. So when we got to Universal, we went straight back to Mario Kart. Now, the thing with Universal that's so different there, and I've been to Universal in Orlando, it's been many years since I've been there, but it's divided into like the upper lot and the lower lot, and I didn't really know what that meant until we got there. And the lower lot is at the bottom of the cliff, and the upper lot is at the top of the cliff where you enter because it sits on a mountain.
Oh,
So they have to move you down the cliff, and it's by escalators. And it's like
really?
4 sections of escalators that are probably like 3 to 4 stories tall each.
Wow.
So it was a little, I did not get any video of them because the whole time I'm like, I don't want to get my phone out and drop it. I don't want to fall. I don't want to lose my balance on this escalator because it was so tall and there were 4 of them. So you'd like go down the escalator, hit a platform, go down the next escalator, hit a platform, go down, and then the last one was like a normal escalator length. But it was kind
That's
of that
cool.
situation where once you're down there, you're like, it's not really easy to get around the park to go from like upper lot and lower lot. So you got to do everything in the lower lot first
Oh, okay.
before you go back up. So we started off at Super Mario World, which is in the very back. We did splurge and get the kids the special like Mario World wristbands, which I know we can use at
Yeah.
Universal in Orlando too. And they were kind of expensive. They were $45 each, but they were well worth it
Oh,
because it helped us like fully immerse the Super Mario
yep.
World because there's only one ride in Super Mario World, which is the Mario Kart ride for Bowser. And once you're there, like there's so much other stuff to do. And if you have the wristbands, you can like hit all the bricks and the boxes and play the mini games. And then there's a Bowser Jr. challenge where you go and you fight Bowser Jr., but you have to
Oh,
earn so
fun.
many keys through your wristbands before you can access Bowser Jr.'s challenge. So we did
Oh,
get our kids the wristbands so that they can just play every aspect. And we spent about 2 hours in the Super Mario World just
oh.
soaking up every aspect of
So
it.
would you say this is like a mini version of the Universal in Florida? Because, and they have Epic now, right? And Epic has a whole Mario World. So is this just kind of like the mini version of Florida, you think?
So Universal Studios in Florida has the 3 parks. They have Universal Studios, they have Islands of Adventure, and then they have the Epic Universe. And
Yep.
so it is very different because it's like Islands of Adventure is the big thrill park. The Universal Studios original is more of like the immersive movie backstage lot park, and then Epic is
Yep.
like their newer one that's all Mario and all kinds of stuff. So the
Yep.
one in California, it's kind of like how Disneyland is like a mix of all the Disneyland parks and has some of the big rides from all the Disneyland parks intermixed. It's kind of like that,
Okay.
where you're gonna get a little bit of all the worlds from Orlando over here.
Oh,
But there's no
fun.
major thrill rides at Universal in
Really?
California. Mm-mm.
Oh,
That
so
was
it's
the one
all just
disappointing piece.
smaller rides. Okay.
Yeah, so
Really?
The Bowser's Mario Kart ride was all 3D like simulation. They put you in a little cart and you put on 3D glasses and a little head thing, and like you had a steering wheel and you interacted with it and you shot all the shells and everything, right? And you raced Bowser. So it was fun, but it was just more of like a 3D interaction simulation ride. And then down in the lower lot is also Jurassic World. That was more of like the water ride that had the huge drops at the end. That was a little bit more of a thrill ride. So we did
Hmm.
Jurassic World, and then there was the Mummy, which was an indoor roller coaster. That was like the only roller coaster ride at Universal.
Really?
Um, Outside of a really small one in Harry Potter World. But so that was the other thrill ride. And then the Transformers ride was all like 3D simulation style. And that's pretty much the lower lot. Like there's not a ton of rides down there.
Hmm.
So then we went back up to the upper lot and we did the backstage tour, which takes about an hour. The cool thing about the backstage tour at Universal Hollywood is that because it's an active lot where they're filming and they're doing movies and shows, you can see, like, you will actively see movies and shows being filmed. So they tell you, like, this show is
Fun.
filmed here and this show is filmed here in this building. And we were there on Oscars Day and on a Sunday, so there wasn't any filming going on the day we were there. But they said like if you go on normal work days, you're gonna see filming there.
Mm.
Yes, so we got to experience that. It was about an hour-long tour, and then it had some interactive pieces, right? They had like the Jaws section on it where you got to go, and then they had another section where you went down in a subway in a lot, and you like they did the earthquake in the subway where the water rushes down.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
and there was a King Kong one where they like took you in this simulation stage lot, and King Kong was there. And he was fighting all around you, and like T-Rex was there, and it was fun. So my kids really
Oh.
enjoyed the backstage lot. They made it really interactive and more family friendly so that it wasn't just like, oh, this show is filmed in this building and this show is filmed in
Hmm.
this building, you know. After that, they have like the Simpsons Land, which is another 3D simulation ride. Then we went to the Harry Potter world, and there were 2 rides in Harry Potter World. It was really cool the way they did it. It's obviously a mini version of what they have in Florida. But it was a butterbeer festival, so they had like some
Oh, fun.
extra special butterbeer treats. So of course we got a butterbeer. I feel like our whole life is Harry Potter butterbeer over the past few years when we travel. Because we've done so much Harry Potter stuff. So we did that, and they had 2 rides in there. My daughter did not want to ride one of them because it was just a little bit more dark and scary and had like the dragons and the dementors in it, so we didn't
Hmm.
opt to ride it with her. So the boys actually went on that one twice. They had a little
Fun.
mini kid-friendly roller coaster that we did in there. And then what else did we do at Universal? What I really liked, they had minions. So we went over and we got to like meet the characters. And while we were in Super Mario World, we got to meet Princess Peach. But like Mario and
Oh,
Luigi
I
and
love
Yoshi were
that.
all out. And then we got to meet minions. So we got to meet Kevin the minion. And then they had a Secret Life of Pets ride. They were all 3D simulation type rides, but they still made them really fun. Like the kids really enjoyed them. And we closed down Universal. We actually ended up going back to the lower lot to use our second because Janelle didn't want to ride Jurassic World or the Mummy ride. So Jackson and I went back down to the lower lot again and redid those for the second time. The cool thing about the
Aw.
Universal Express Pass that's very different from Disney is it works on any ride in the park minus the Bowser ride. And you don't have to reserve it. Like, so you can just literally swipe your pass and walk on at
Oh,
any
that's
point you want.
nice.
Yeah, so there's no 2-hour time limit. There's no tracking your reservations. You just go from ride to ride. And we walked on every single ride. And the park was really crowded. Like, wait times were probably 80 to 90 minutes on majority of the rides. And we
Mm.
just walked straight onto all of them. So the Express Pass at Universal is well worth it.
Ooh, I love that. I know that is the kind of the annoying thing about Disney with the lightning lanes and all that kind of stuff. You think it's a perk to have it, which it is, but it's stressful. We talked about, again, Rise of the Resistance is its own. So that's another $100. And then the lightning lanes, you have to reserve times. And if you don't get it quick enough, the day that you buy them, like I think my one Slinky Dog ride was already sold out in the lightning lane pass when I bought it. So the other one is like Toy Story Mania. I've got that at like 8:40 on Sunday night. It's probably not going to have that long of a line anyway, but you can change them once you get there. But it is annoying that like you have to pick these times and then you have the anxiety of like, what if I don't make it in that time and then you missed it?
So, a fun fact, Toy Story Mania is one of the ones we did not actually get a ride at California Adventure because that was the lightning lane that was sold out and never came back up. So we didn't get to do
Really?
it because the line was like 80 minutes plus all day long.
That's crazy. And I tried to get Slinky Dog. It said keep checking because it could pop up. So I actually had Toy Story Mania earlier in the day booked, and then Slinky Dog came up, but it wouldn't let me book it because it conflicted with with the Toy Story Mania. So I deleted Toy Story Mania, went to get Slinky Dog, and it was gone. And then, so I had to go back quickly, get Toy Story Mania again. And then it was at the end of the night. And I'm like, this is stressful. I don't like this kind of stuff. I just want to go to Europe. Europe is easier. Like, this is just so much. I don't like this. But but again, I like that California is a little bit more laid back. So it seems like a great first place to start because I feel like everybody starts with Walt Disney World. But to me, this sounds like a great intro to dip your feet in before you have the craziness of Walt Disney World.
And they have all the classics. They have Pirates of the Caribbean, they have Haunted
Yep.
Mansion, they have, the Peter Pan ride, Alice in Wonderland. They have all
Yeah.
of the classic rides that you want to go do at Walt Disney World.
Yep.
And some of the best rides of all of the parks, right? They just have them in one park. So it
Hmm.
is a little bit, it's nicer in that way. Now, I did find myself setting an alarm. I would be like, all right, 2 hours from right now, I have to set my alarm because the lightning lane you can pick every 2 hours, or if you ride a ride, it was very confusing.
Oh,
So it took me a little bit to understand it. And
yeah.
it was, you'd go and you'd pick a ride and then it'd be gone, or it'd be like, oh, your
Yep.
time changed to this because you sat on it too long.
I know. It's so stressful. Oh my
So it
goodness.
was a little annoying. But that's what was so nice about the Express Pass at Universal is we didn't have to do any of that. I just scanned my pass and we walked on the ride. And we just
That
had to
sounds
remember,
amazing.
because we had 4 passes, and
Yep.
since Janelle is younger and didn't want to ride every ride, we just had to remember which ones we used. And we
Yep.
went back on some of those big rides twice because it's one time per ride, and then but because we had the
Yep.
4 we could go back on.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds so good. I love that. I wish that they did that for Disney, but maybe if they did, it would just be insane or something if they couldn't handle the crowd limits or something like that.
Oh, the one other thing with Lightning Lane, I will tell you, and I didn't know this until the day of, and I only found out because of my photo shoot with Fairy Godmother with Janelle. Otherwise, I would have never known this. Is that if you buy Lightning Lane at Disney, your photo pass is included. So we took
Hmm.
full advantage of the park professional photographers for those 2 days and got every photo that we could get because they were all included. So then they would just upload into my app and then I could download them on my phone without the watermark. And I never
Mm.
would have known that because I'm pretty sure I read like every FAQ on our tickets and everything I could find. But I only know because when I did the fairy godmother pass, she gave me my photo card and she goes, okay, these are included for you so you can download as soon as they upload. And she said, do you guys have lightning lane passes? And I said, yes, we do. She said, then your photos included are all day long. They're included everywhere. Just make sure that they scan this code.
Ooh, is it the same at Walt Disney World or you don't know about that?
I don't know, but I would
Okay,
assume. I
I'll
mean,
have to
double
look that
check
up.
it.
That's good to
It's
know.
something to ask. Yeah.
So do you mean even like, you know how they take that picture of you when you're like on the ride? Is it those photos too?
Yes, and I
Oh,
wish I would have realized that, and I
really?
didn't get any of those until we did the Cars ride at the very end of the night because when I grabbed that was our last ride of our 2 days at Disney, but I looked at the photo on that one and I grabbed the code on it and I tried it and it worked. So I wish I would have grabbed
Really?
more of them too. Yeah. Because it gives you a code and in
Okay.
the app you can just search the code.
I'm gonna have to check into that because I never buy that stuff because that's
I,
like it's too expensive and that adds up really quick and it's not worth it. But if I have that because I already bought my lightning lanes today, then like that's a really good tip to know. So I am gonna and I will report back later once I check into it and let you guys know because yeah, that's a great added perk because it's expensive. Those lightning lanes, it's so expensive. So to have that extra perk added on there makes it feel a little bit better, like paying that much for it, you know?
and I would have walked right past all the photographers had I known that. I don't even go in
Yep.
lines for those or
Nope.
anything. But when she told me that, I'm like, we are jumping in every photographer line. I want the best
Yep.
shots of the castle. I want the pictures with
Yep.
Walt. I want all of it. So we jumped in every
Yep.
line that we could.
Ooh, that's good to know. So do you have anything else you want to tell us about LA? Do you have one more day in LA?
Yes. So we have one more day. Universal was our second day in LA. And then our last day in LA, we got up the next morning. This was kind of our exploration day. So we got up and we had a little bit of a lazier morning because we,
Yeah.
closed down Universal the night before. We'd open to close. That's how we do our theme parks. And then we
I love it.
we walked over to Hollywood Boulevard and there's a Mel's Drive-In, like one of the old Hollywood ones right there on
Oh,
Hollywood Boulevard. So we had brunch at Mel's Drive-In. And then we walked up and down Hollywood Boulevard and like looked at the Walk of Fame stars, picked out some stars that we love on the Walk of Fame. Now there was still fencing and the roads were still closed, so like we didn't get that grand feeling because of the
yeah.
Oscars. But it was still kind of fun. And then I found a Capital One cafe right on the
I
corner of
saw
Hollywood
that.
Boulevard. Yes. So I got to go to a Capital One cafe for the first time and get the half off coffee.
Oh, I
So
love that.
that was so exciting to me to get like my half off coffee at a Capital One cafe because we don't
That's
have one.
amazing. I would love to go to one. I have never been to one before.
Yeah. And then after we walked around the Hollywood Walk of Fame a little bit, we went and got in our car and drove over to the Hollywood sign. There's a park that you can go to get unobstructed views of the Hollywood sign because you can't really like drive up to it. So it's called the Hollywood Lake Park. So we drove over there and then it had little playground and stuff. So we got some pictures and the kids played at the playground. And then from there, we went to Griffith Observatory, which is normally free to go to, but it was closed on Mondays, so we couldn't go inside of it. But we could
Yeah.
still walk all the way around the outside, and there's this like huge outside, like little walkway balcony that goes all the way around the building because it sits on the side of a cliff. So we walked all the way around. It had some amazing views of just the
Aw.
city and the mountains and it was really pretty just to see the views and walk around all the grounds at Griffith Park or Griffith Observatory. So we did that, and then we were going to try to go back to the coast, but everybody was just still really tired. So instead, we just went and found some food, and then ended up calling it an early night and going back to the room. Um, and packed up and the kids just swam and it was just kind of an early night. It was a little bit more of a relaxing day, which I think is key, right?
Yep.
I have to check myself. You're really good at this, but I'm not. I will overschedule us so much because I want to do everything and get it all
Hmm.
in while we're there
Yep.
and like push us all to our limits. But because theme parks are so exhausting and so like over sensory overwhelming, we had to schedule in those slower days. And when my family, like, they were just kind of done. So I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
The pool is great. Let's go back to the hotel. It's a heated pool. It's a nice little space. Let's go for it. So we just went back and swam and called it a night.
Great.
And then the next day we got up. We didn't know how traffic was going to be, so we had planned to get to the airport 3 hours early. Ended up getting there about 3.5 hours early. LAX was a pretty easy airport. The return rental car was so much easier than like Dallas or Vegas or anywhere else because it's off site, but it was just an easier process to get like the shuttle from off site to the airport. And then we used up my last 2 passes for the Admiral's Lounge.
Yay.
And went there and hung out, and they had a really good breakfast. And then they have a bagel station this time, so they had a guy there with all the toppings that you wanted for your bagel. So we built bagels. I mean, they have bacon and salmon and guacamole and different types of cream cheeses and tomato. And I mean, there was so much stuff you could put on a bagel. So we built our own bagels, and then our flight got delayed. So we ended up spending like 4 or 5 hours at the airport.
No.
So we had to go find the playground.
My
So we
goodness.
found the playground, we played on there for a little bit, then went back to the club lounge for lunch, and then got on our flight. So we had breakfast and lunch in the Admiral's Lounge, and then ended up still buying a pizza for the flight because my kids didn't love the lunch options. But it was fine. We made it home.
That's how it goes. You did. Yay. So, before we wrap up, if someone was planning this exact trip, would you tell them anything to must do or avoid? Is there anything that you can think of that would be really important for our listeners to know before they try to replicate this trip?
I would think about the days of the week that you're going. We went a Wednesday to a Tuesday, so it was six nights, 7 days, and our theme park days at Disneyland were Thursday, Friday, and our Universal day was a Sunday. So looking back, I wish I would have maybe put my Universal day on a Monday. I think it would have been less crowded to go on Monday, and then like Disney Thursday, Friday. Friday was just so much more crowded than Thursday. So those are pieces I would definitely think about. And then scheduling that downtime was really key for the family. Taking that drive, the scenic route up the coast instead of just rushing to go do all these other LA things. I mean, there's so much more in LA we could have done, right? There's so much more. There's the tar pits, there's Rodeo Drive, there's museums galore. There's like a million museums all over LA and Hollywood, and we just didn't, because we had spent so much money on the theme parks, we really wanted our exploration days to be free. So that's what we were trying, was free things in LA that we could do, free things in Hollywood. That's why we stuck to the basics of like the Hollywood sign, the Walk of Fame, like seeing the Chinese theater and all of those pieces of it, because theme parks add up so fast, and food in LA is really expensive. But it was, I mean, overall, I think it was a really good trip. It was pretty well planned out, just with the down days in between really made a huge difference in my kids having the energy to keep going for the next theme park.
No, I think that's so important. I feel like kids can't handle a lot, especially when they're still a little bit younger. So when they go too much, you have a lot more like tantrums and grumpy behaviors and things like that. So really taking that time to do what they want to do, like they usually just want to swim or play on the playground, that like recharges them so they can go off and do all the things that we want to go do. So 100%, I think it's worth it to add that in, even though we as parents can sometimes feel like, oh, it's adding extra time to a trip where we could cut it shorter. But then if everything's too rushed, it takes the fun out of it,
And there's so many other theme parks in like the LA area too that I would have loved to do. I mean, there's a Legoland there. There's Knott's Berry Farm. There's another one I'm blanking on what it is. But there's so many more like cool big activities to do as well. So you could easily extend it and make it a longer trip. The thing about Universal that was really tough is it is very, more so than Disney, very sensory overload.
Mm.
Especially when you get into like the Super Mario World, there's just so much noise of the constant dinging of the coin sound, right? Like when you're playing Super Mario World or Super Mario Kart, you know that sound when they're like dinging of the
Yep.
coins getting the boxes, that's going off nonstop all through that world. And there's so many bright colors, and there's not really a lot of shade in Super Mario World. So it was very sensory overload. Like at the end
Yep.
of it, we were starting to get, okay, we have to get out of this world. Like you're trapped back
Hmm.
here. It's starting to get too much. The kids were starting to get really grumpy.
Yep.
And then in other pieces of Universal too, like Simpsons Land or like Minions or the Pets, Secret Life of Pets, it's just very immersive in a way. It's almost sensory overload.
Mm.
Whereas Disney was more of a natural immersiveness, like you're
Yep.
immersed once you walk into the ride space, but outside of that, it's like very green and there's just more nature at Disney, I guess. So that
Hmm.
was a big thing for us, which is why we had to slow down on that last day because Universal was so much and it was really crowded. Like the spaces are just smaller. So the different lands just had a lot more people crowded into them and there wasn't as much room to move
Hmm.
there. Even like on the escalators, you were packed on those escalators like sardines for four
Yeah.
stories. So
Yikes.
it was a lot.
Uh,
We took the stairs down the first thing in the morning, and I'm like, that was a lot of stairs down.
Escalator it is.
Yeah. So
Uh,
those down days are very important.
that's awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to share, Joy, before we wrap up the Disney, Universal, and LA episode?
I don't. Like, Undercover Tourist is a great hack for cutting back your costs, especially on theme parks. And if you have the Capital One Venture, absolutely take advantage of that opportunity to cut those costs. It can really extend your trip, give you the ability to splurge, and do the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique experience if you want, or a
Yeah.
character breakfast, or anything else without the guilt because you know that you are able to get so much of your trip covered on points.
I love that. All right. Today's episode was such a fun breakdown. And honestly, I feel like this kind of trip is such a sweet spot. You get a little bit of Disney magic and Universal magic and a totally different experience with LA. If you've been thinking about Disneyland or Universal but weren't sure how to plan it or how to pair it with something else, hopefully this gave you some ideas. And if you love this episode, it would mean so much if you left us a 5-star review and shared it with a friend who's always dreaming about their next trip. That's how we keep this going and help more families travel for less. We'll see you guys in the next episode.